The transport ship carrying Earth's diplomatic team docked at the massive space station floating in neutral territory. Ambassador Daniel stood at the viewport, watching the structure grow larger as they approached. The station was enormous, built by a dozen different alien species over centuries. It looked like a small city made of metal and glass, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. "First time seeing it never gets old," said Colonel Lisa Grant, standing beside him. She wore her formal military uniform, dark blue with silver insignia that marked her rank. Her brown hair was pulled back tight, and her expression was calm despite the tension everyone felt. Daniel nodded. 70 years of preparation for this moment. Let's hope we don't mess it up. Behind them, Dr. Peter checked his data pad for the 100th time. The scientist was nervous, constantly adjusting his glasses and reviewing the presentation files. "All our research is ready. If they ask technical questions, I can answer them." Sophie, the cultural liaison, smiled at Peter's anxiety. "Relax. We've practiced this 1,000 times. Just be honest and respectful. That's all we can do." The ship finished docking with a soft thump. The airlock cycled open, and the Earth delegation stepped into the station. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal, and the air had a faint metallic smell. Aliens of various species moved through the corridors, some walking, others floating, a few slithering along the walls. None of them paid much attention to the humans. A small hovering robot approached them, speaking in perfect English through a translator. "Earth delegation, follow me to Council Chamber 7. The military committee is waiting." They walked through wide corridors lined with windows showing the stars outside. The station was beautiful in a cold, efficient way. Everything was clean and functional, built to accommodate hundreds of different species. Daniel noticed that some of the doorways were enormous while others were tiny. Some rooms had water instead of air. The galaxy was more diverse than Earth had imagined. The council chamber was a large circular room with seats arranged in tiers around a central platform. About 30 aliens sat in various seats, representing different species and governments. Some looked almost human, others were completely unlike anything from Earth. The robot guided the human delegation to the platform in the center. A massive figure stood from one of the front seats. General of the Empire was over 7 feet tall, covered in dark green scales that looked like armor. His eyes were yellow with vertical pupils, and when he smiled, he showed rows of sharp teeth. He wore a military uniform covered in medals and decorations. "So these are the humans," said, his voice deep and rough. The translator made his words understandable but kept the mocking tone clear. "You look very small and soft. I have seen your planet's files. Earth is barely worth the metal in your ships." Daniel stepped forward, keeping his face neutral. "General, thank you for meeting with us. Earth requests membership in the Galactic Council. We believe we can contribute to the greater community." Laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Several other aliens in the chamber joined him. "Contribute? What can you contribute? Your weapons use chemical explosives like children's toys. Your ships are slower than cargo transports. Your soldiers have no armor, no enhancements, no genetic improvements. You are as nature made you, weak and fragile." Lisa felt her jaw tighten but said nothing. Peter looked down at his data pad. Sophie kept her diplomatic smile in place. Daniel continued calmly, "We may lack some technologies, but we have other strengths. Our strategic thinking, our adaptability, our determination." Words interrupted. "The galaxy runs on strength, not pretty speeches. Every species on this council has proven their worth through capability. The Empire has won 3,000 years of victories because we are strong." He held up one clawed hand and flexed it. "My people can crush steel with our bare hands from the time we are children. Can your people do this?" "General, physical strength isn't the only measure of worth," Daniel said carefully. "It is the first measure," replied. He snapped his fingers, and one of his aides brought forward a metal cylinder. It was about 8 inches long and 2 inches wide, made of polished steel that gleamed under the chamber's lights. Took it and held it up for everyone to see. "This is a standard strength test for young soldiers. Before they can join the military, they must crush this bar with their hands. It is simple for us." Gripped the bar with both hands. His muscles tensed, scales rippling. The steel groaned and then bent, folding into a U-shape like soft clay. He tossed it onto the platform where it clattered loudly. Simple. The chamber was silent. Every eye turned to the humans standing on the platform. "I propose a test," said, his voice filling the room. If humanity wishes to join the council, let them prove they can survive in our galaxy. Let one of your people crush this bar as I have done. Show us you are not too weak to stand among us. Daniel felt his stomach sink. This was a trap. Human beings couldn't crush solid steel with their bare hands. It was biologically impossible. Knew this. He was setting them up for public humiliation, giving himself an excuse to reject Earth's application. General, this test is unreasonable, Daniel said. Our species evolved differently. We have other capabilities. Then you are too weak for the council, said simply. If you cannot pass the same tests our children pass, how can you stand as equals? How can we trust you in battle, in crisis, in the hard moments when only strength matters? He looked around the chamber at the other delegates. Unless the humans can prove basic capability, I recommend immediate rejection of their application. Several aliens nodded. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. The power dynamics in the room were clear. The Empire was strong, and its opinion carried weight. Daniel looked at his team. Peter was pale, knowing the physics made this impossible. Sophie looked worried. Lisa met his eyes and gave a small nod. She stepped forward onto the platform. I'll take your test, Lisa said clearly. Smile widened. Excellent, a volunteer. He gestured, and his aide brought forward another steel bar identical to the first. This bar is solid titanium steel alloy. It requires approximately 12,000 pounds of crushing force. For my people, this is easy. For humans, he laughed again. We shall see. The aide placed the bar on a small table on the platform. Lisa walked over to it, her boots clicking on the floor. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the aliens who had been whispering to each other stopped to watch. Lisa picked up the bar and felt its weight. It was cold and heavy in her hands, perfectly smooth except for some manufacturing marks on the ends. She looked at it for a long moment, then closed her eyes. She thought about her childhood in Colorado, working on her father's ranch. She remembered the lessons he taught her about pushing past limits, about finding strength when it mattered most. She thought about every hard moment in her military career, every time she had to do something that seemed impossible. Lisa opened her eyes and positioned her hands on the bar. Her fingers wrapped around the cold metal. She took a slow breath and began to squeeze. The chamber waited, watched with amused contempt, already composing his rejection speech in his mind. The other aliens leaned forward, curious to see how quickly the human would give up. Lisa's knuckles turned white. The muscles in her forearms stood out like cables. Sweat appeared on her forehead. Her breathing stayed steady and controlled. She focused everything she had on the metal in her hands. The sound was soft at first, barely audible in the silent chamber, a high-pitched whine of metal under stress. Several aliens shifted in their seats, leaning forward. General's confident smile began to fade. Lisa's breathing grew heavier but remained controlled. Every muscle in her body was engaged now, not just her hands and arms. Her legs braced against the floor, her core tight, her shoulders locked. She channeled every ounce of focus into the bar, visualizing it collapsing under her grip. The groaning grew louder. A visible dent appeared in the center of the bar where her thumbs pressed together. The metal was actually deforming. Impossible, but happening right in front of dozens of witnesses. Stood up from his seat, his yellow eyes wide. "This cannot be," he muttered in his own language, though the translator caught it. Lisa's vision narrowed to just the bar in her hands. She thought about Earth, about humanity's future, about every person back home counting on this mission to succeed. She thought about proving that humans belonged among the stars. The pressure in her hands increased. With a sharp crack, the center of the bar buckled inward. The titanium steel alloy, designed to withstand incredible force, collapsed under her grip. Lisa's hands moved closer together as the metal compressed. Her breathing came in controlled gasps now, her entire body shaking with effort. The bar folded, then crumpled. Within seconds, she had crushed it into a twisted, deformed mass barely half its original length. The smooth cylinder was now a ruined piece of scrap metal, completely destroyed by human hands. Lisa dropped the crushed bar onto the table. It hit with a heavy thud that echoed through the stunned silence. She straightened up, breathing hard, sweat running down her face. Her hands were red and would probably bruise badly, but she kept her expression neutral. She turned to face General and met his shocked stare. "Is that sufficient proof?" she asked calmly. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens jumped from their seats, shouting in a dozen different languages. Some rushed toward the platform to examine the crushed metal. Others activated communication devices to report what they had witnessed. The noise was deafening. Daniel, Peter, and Sophie stood frozen in shock. They had known Lisa was strong and determined, but this was beyond anything they thought possible. Peter especially looked like his understanding of physics had just been shattered. Slowly descended from his seat and walked to the platform. He picked up the ruined bar and turned it over in his clawed hands, examining it closely. His expression was unreadable now, the mockery completely gone. "How?" he asked simply, looking at Lisa. "Your species is classified as standard biological baseline. No genetic modifications, no cybernetic enhancements. Your muscle density is normal. Your bone structure is adequate but not exceptional. How did you do this?" Lisa flexed her aching hands. "Determination, focus, need. My planet taught me to push past limits when it matters." "That is not an answer," said, his voice harder now. "That is philosophy. I want science. I want facts." Dr. Peter stepped forward, his shock fading into professional curiosity. "General, may I explain?" Gestured impatiently, "Speak." Peter pulled up a holographic display from his data pad. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. "General, our application file may have understated certain facts about our home world. Earth is what we classify as a high-gravity planet. The gravity is 32% higher than galactic standard." Murmurs went through the chamber. Several aliens checked their own data pads, verifying this information. Peter continued, "Our atmospheric oxygen content is also significantly higher than standard. What you consider a safe atmosphere, we consider thin and hard to breathe. Earth's oxygen levels are in the range you would classify as volatile or even dangerous." More murmurs. A few aliens looked at the humans with new concern. "But this still doesn't explain crushing steel," interrupted. "I'm getting to that," Peter said, gaining confidence. "Humans evolved under constant high-gravity pressure. Our muscles, bones, and cardiovascular system developed to handle stress that would injure or kill most galactic species. We are, essentially, wearing weighted training equipment every moment of our lives on Earth." He pulled up comparative anatomy charts. "But there's more. Humans have what we call hysterical strength. It's a neurological response to extreme stress. In normal circumstances, our brains limit how much force our muscles can exert. This prevents us from injuring ourselves. But in crisis situations, when survival is at stake, those limits can be temporarily removed." A holographic video appeared showing historical footage from Earth. A small human woman lifting the front of a ground vehicle off a trapped child. A man breaking through a reinforced door with his bare hands during a fire. A teenager carrying another person twice his size for miles after an accident. "These are documented cases," Peter explained. "When humans face desperate situations, our bodies can access strength we don't normally have. The cost is high, tissue damage, broken bones sometimes, exhaustion. But for brief periods, humans can exceed our normal physical limits by significant margins." He looked at Lisa. Colonel Grant just demonstrated this capability. The stress of this moment, the importance of proving Earth's worth, allowed her to override her normal neurological limiters. She accessed her full muscular capacity without restriction. Looked between Peter and Lisa. "This is a common ability among your people." "Not common," Lisa said, her voice still steady despite her fatigue. "Most humans couldn't do what I just did. It requires specific circumstances, extreme motivation, and yes, a certain amount of training and mental discipline. But the potential exists in all of us." "Show me your hands," demanded. Lisa held out her hands. They were swollen and red, with visible bruising already forming. Her fingers trembled slightly from muscle fatigue. "Examine them closely. You injured yourself doing this." "Yes," Lisa admitted. "There are costs. My bones have microscopic fractures. My muscles are torn. I'll need medical treatment and weeks of recovery. Hysterical strength isn't something we can use casually. But when necessary, when survival or something important enough is at stake, humans can push beyond normal limits." Ambassador Daniel spoke up, addressing the entire chamber. "We didn't include this information in our initial application because we didn't want to seem threatening. Earth has spent the last 70 years trying to join the galactic community peacefully. We were concerned that if we emphasized our physical capabilities, you would see us as dangerous rather than as potential partners." "You deliberately information," said, his voice carrying an edge of anger. We emphasized our culture, our science, our desire for cooperation, Daniel corrected. Everything in our application was true. We simply didn't highlight the physical adaptations that come from evolving on a high-gravity world. Would you have reacted differently if we had? Silence answered him. Several aliens looked uncomfortable. Sophie added, many species in this chamber have abilities that seem impossible to others. They can survive in hard vacuum. They can regenerate lost limbs. They are incredibly strong and have natural armor. Every species has unique capabilities. Ours simply weren't obvious from our appearance. A delegate from a species that looked like a large insect stood up. The human makes a valid point. We all have evolutionary advantages, but General, you specifically designed this test to humiliate Earth. You assumed they would fail. Now you are angry that they succeeded. Scales rippled with emotion. I designed this test to reveal truth, and truth has been revealed, but not what I expected. He turned to his aide. Bring medical scanners. I want this human examined. I want proof she has no hidden augmentations. Lisa nodded. Scan me. You'll find I'm completely baseline human. No modifications, no implants, no enhancements of any kind. Two medical technicians approached with portable scanning equipment. They ran multiple passes over Lisa's body, checking for cybernetics, genetic alterations, or any form of technological enhancement. The scans took nearly 10 minutes while the chamber waited in tense silence. Finally, the senior technician looked at and spoke in their language. The general's expression darkened. The scans confirm it, announced to the chamber. She is unmodified. What we witnessed was purely biological capability. He looked at the crushed bar in his hand again, then at Lisa. You are full of surprises, human. We're full of determination, Lisa corrected. There's a difference. The chamber erupted in discussion again. Delegates from various species began pulling up Earth's application files, reviewing them with new eyes. News of what happened was already spreading through the station. Within minutes, footage of Lisa crushing the steel bar was being broadcast across the galaxy. General stood silently on the platform, the ruined bar still in his hand. His entire worldview had just been challenged. For 3,000 years, the Empire had dominated the military sphere of the galaxy based on their physical superiority. Now a small human female had matched a feat that children accomplished, but she had done it through sheer will and evolutionary adaptation rather than natural biological advantage. He looked at the Earth delegation with new eyes. If this was what one human could do when pressed, what was humanity? The council chamber remained in chaos for another hour. Delegates demanded explanations, requested data, and argued among themselves about the implications. Finally, the council chairman, a floating jellyfish-like creature named, called for order. The session is suspended, announced, his translated voice calm and authoritative. We will reconvene in 3 days to continue discussions regarding Earth's application. The human delegation will remain on the station as guests. All members will review the new information that has come to light. Daniel bowed respectfully. Thank you, Chairman. We appreciate the Council's consideration. As the chamber emptied, various aliens approached the human delegation. Some wanted to examine the crushed steel bar more closely. Others asked technical questions about human physiology. A few simply stared at Lisa with expressions ranging from respect to fear. The Earth delegation was escorted to guest quarters in the station's diplomatic section. The rooms were comfortable, with adjustable gravity and atmosphere controls. A medical team arrived within minutes to treat Lisa's hands. The doctor was a species that looked like a tall, thin humanoid with silver skin. She examined Lisa's hands with gentle efficiency, running scanners over the damaged tissue. Significant bruising, multiple small fractures in the metacarpal bones, torn muscle fibers throughout both hands and forearms, the doctor reported. You're fortunate you didn't shatter your fingers completely. I can treat this, but you'll need to keep your hands immobilized for at least a week. How long until I can use them normally again? Lisa asked. 3 weeks minimum, possibly 4, and you should avoid any strenuous activity for at least 2 months after that. The doctor applied a regenerative gel to Lisa's hands and wrapped them carefully. May I ask why you risked permanent injury for a political demonstration? Lisa looked at her bandaged hands. Because Earth's future was at stake, because sometimes you have to prove yourself no matter the cost. The doctor nodded slowly. Your species is either very brave or very foolish, possibly both. but there was respect in her tone. After the doctor left, the delegation gathered in the common area of their quarters. Peter immediately pulled up his data pad and started analyzing the recordings of Lisa's demonstration. "This is going to change everything," he said, reviewing the footage frame by frame. "Look at the reaction times. Your neurological override happened in less than 2 seconds. The force generation curve is incredible. If I extrapolate from this single event, the implications for human capability are enormous." "Peter, breathe," Sophie said with a smile. "You're going into full research mode." "This is important," Peter insisted. "The galaxy thought they understood human limitations. Now they're realizing they don't understand us at all. That's both an opportunity and a danger." Daniel nodded thoughtfully. "He's right. We've gotten their attention, but attention can cut both ways. Some species will want to partner with us. Others will see us as a threat to be contained." "What about?" Lisa asked. "He looked angry when we left the chamber." "Humiliated is more accurate," Daniel said. "He tried to embarrass us publicly, and it backfired spectacularly. The Empire has built its reputation on military dominance. Having a human match their strength test undermines that reputation." Sophie pulled up a news feed on the wall display. The crushed steel bar was the top story on every galactic news network. Commentators from dozens of species were analyzing the footage, offering opinions, and speculating about Earth's true capabilities. "We're famous," Sophie said dryly, "or infamous, hard to tell which." Over the next 2 days, the Earth delegation received a constant stream of visitors. Military officers from various species wanted to discuss human combat capabilities. Scientists requested detailed biological data. Diplomats hinted at possible alliance treaties. Daniel handled each meeting carefully, being honest about human capabilities while emphasizing Earth's peaceful intentions. He made it clear that humanity sought cooperation, not domination. On the second evening, Lisa received an unexpected visitor. Her door chimed, and when she answered, General stood in the corridor. He was alone, without his usual entourage of aides and guards. "General," Lisa said, surprised, "I wasn't expecting you." "May I enter?" asked. His tone was different from the chamber, less arrogant, more uncertain. Lisa stepped aside and entered her quarters. He looked around at the simple furnishings, the lower gravity setting, the wall displays showing images of Earth. His gaze settled on her bandaged hands. "You injured yourself significantly," he observed. "The doctor says I'll recover fully," Lisa replied, "though I'll probably have some permanent scarring." Was silent for a moment, then spoke. "I misjudged your species. I assumed you were weak because you appeared fragile. I designed that test to humiliate you, to give myself justification to reject Earth's application. This was wrong." Lisa studied the tall alien carefully. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I am a soldier, and soldiers must face truth even when it is uncomfortable." Moved to the window showing the stars. "The Empire has dominated galactic military affairs for 3,000 years. We are strong, tough, naturally armored. We assumed this made us superior to species like yours that lack these advantages." "And now," Lisa prompted. "Now I am uncertain," admitted. "You matched a feat that children accomplish easily, but you did it through will and determination rather than biology. This suggests your species has potential we never considered. If one human can do what you did under controlled circumstances, what could your species accomplish in true life-or-death situations?" Lisa sat down carefully, her hands resting in her lap. "You want to know if Earth is a threat to the Empire." "I want to know what humans are truly capable of," corrected. "Your application files show military engagements with hostile species. You describe them as defeats or narrow escapes. But now I wonder if you were holding back, trying not to appear too dangerous." "We were fighting for survival," Lisa said honestly. "We used every advantage we had. But you're right that we didn't use our full capabilities. We avoided total war scenarios because we wanted to preserve the possibility of future peace." "Explain," demanded. Lisa thought carefully about how to respond. "When humans fight for survival, when we truly believe defeat means extinction, we become something different. Our history is full of examples. Outnumbered soldiers holding positions against impossible odds. Civilians enduring years of hardship rather than surrender. Individuals sacrificing themselves to save others. We call it the warrior spirit, but it's more than that. It's a refusal to accept defeat even when defeat seems certain." This sounds like propaganda, said, but his tone was uncertain. It's observation, Lisa countered. Earth's history is full of wars and conflicts. We've studied what makes soldiers effective, what allows people to endure terrible situations, what drives someone to achieve impossible things. The common factor is always the same. Humans perform best when we have something worth fighting for. She gestured with her bandaged hands. I crushed that steel bar because Earth's future depended on it, because every person back home was counting on this mission, because failure meant decades of work wasted. That motivation gave me access to strength I don't normally have. Turned from the window. Your species frightens me, human, not because you are strong and the way are strong, but because your strength is unpredictable. We can measure muscle density and bone strength. We cannot measure determination or will. We frighten ourselves sometimes, Lisa admitted. Humans are capable of great kindness and terrible cruelty. We've achieved amazing things and done horrible things. We're still learning how to control our own nature. Yet you seek to join the galactic community, said. Why? You could remain isolated on Earth, developing your strength, and then emerge as conquerors. Because we've learned from our history, Lisa said firmly. Earth has seen too many wars, too much suffering caused by conquest and domination. We want something different. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves. We want to learn from other species and share what we've learned. We want peace, general, not because we're weak, but because we know the cost of war. Was silent for a long time, processing this. Finally, he spoke. I must write a military assessment of humanity for the Council. My superiors expect me to recommend rejection based on the threat you pose, but I find myself uncertain about what to recommend. Recommend the truth, Lisa suggested. That humans are strong but choose cooperation, that we have dangerous capabilities but seek peaceful coexistence, that strength and wisdom aren't opposites. My government will not like this, said. The Empire prefers clear threats or clear allies. You are neither. Then maybe that's what the galaxy needs, Lisa said. Something new, something different, a species that doesn't fit the old categories. Moved toward the door, then paused. If I recommend Earth's acceptance, and if the Council agrees, what will humans do with their new position? Lisa met his yellow eyes steadily. We'll do what we've always done. We'll work hard. We'll learn. We'll contribute what we can. And if someone threatens innocent people or attacks the weak, we'll stand up and fight back. Not for conquest or glory, but because it's the right thing to do. Idealistic, observed. Realistic, Lisa corrected. We know we're not perfect. We know we'll make mistakes, but we're trying to be better than we were. Isn't that what civilization is supposed to be about? Left without another word, but his expression was thoughtful rather than hostile. Lisa watched him. The council chamber filled slowly that evening. Delegates from 47 different species took their seats, some arriving in person, others appearing as holographic projections. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone knew this vote would set precedent for how the galaxy treated powerful but peaceful species. The Earth delegation entered last, walking to their platform in the center of the chamber. Lisa's hands were still bandaged, a visible reminder of what had happened 3 days ago. Daniel stood tall and calm, though he felt the weight of every human's hope on his shoulders. Chairman floated to his position at the head of the chamber. We reconvene to make a final determination regarding Earth's application for Council membership. Before we vote, there will be statements from key parties. General of the Empire has requested to speak first. Murmurs went through the chamber. Everyone expected to argue against humanity. The general's humiliation was well known, and pride was legendary. Rose from his seat and descended to the speaking platform. He carried a data pad, and his military bearing was formal and rigid. He looked at the assembled council, then at the Earth delegation before beginning. 3 days ago I stood in this chamber and mocked humanity, said bluntly. I called them weak and soft. I designed a test specifically to humiliate them and justify rejecting their application. I was wrong. Shocked silence filled the chamber. Several delegates leaned forward. Continued, I have spent the last 3 days reviewing all available data on Earth and human capabilities. I have consulted with scientists, military analysts, and my own medical staff. I have spoken privately with the human delegation. My findings have caused me to reconsider many assumptions my species holds about strength and worth. He activated his data pad, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. Earth is classified as a high gravity. Atmospheric oxygen levels are 37% above galactic standard. Surface temperatures range from extremes that would kill most species. Natural predators are numerous and dangerous. Yet humans evolved not just to survive this environment, but to dominate it. Images of Earth appeared, showing vast cities, advanced technology, and humans engaging in various activities. Mountain climbing, deep-sea exploration, desert crossings, Arctic research stations. Humans adapted to their harsh world by developing unique capabilities, explained. Enhanced endurance that allows them to run for hours without stopping. Efficient cooling systems that work in extreme heat. The ability to survive in temperatures and conditions lethal to most species. And as we witnessed, the capacity to temporarily exceed normal biological limits through neurological override. More data scrolled across the displays. Comparison charts between humans and other species, performance metrics, historical records of human achievements. But physical capability is only part of what I discovered, said, his tone shifting. I also reviewed Earth's history. It is violent. Humans have fought each other constantly throughout their development. Wars, conflicts, struggles for resources and territory. By all measures, they should be an aggressive, conquest-driven species. He paused, letting this sink in. Yet when they finally achieved space travel and discovered the galactic community, they did not attack. They did not conquer. They asked politely to join. They studied our laws and customs. They spent 70 years preparing a diplomatic application. This puzzled me greatly. Looked directly at the Earth delegation. So I asked Colonel Lisa Grant why humanity chose peace when they had the strength to choose war. Her answer was simple. Earth has seen enough war. Humans know its cost. They want something better. The general turned back to the council. I have fought in 17 military campaigns across 12 different star systems. I have seen species who conquer because they can, who take what they want through force. Humanity is strong enough to be conquerors, but wise enough to choose cooperation instead. This combination is rare, perhaps unique. He pulled up his final report. My military assessment is as follows. Humanity possesses significant physical capabilities that were not apparent from initial observations. If forced into total war, they would be dangerous opponents. Their endurance, adaptability, and psychological resilience would make them difficult to defeat. They are absolutely capable of defending themselves and their interests. Paused, then continued. However, they have consistently chosen diplomatic solutions over military ones. They seek partnership rather than dominance. They offer knowledge exchange, cultural cooperation, and mutual defense rather than submission to stronger powers. Based on 70 years of observation and 3 days of intensive analysis, I believe humanity would be a valuable addition to the Council. The chamber erupted in shocked discussion. This was completely unexpected. Raised his voice to be heard. I recommend approval of Earth's application for full Council membership with all associated rights and responsibilities. Furthermore, I propose the Empire offer a military cooperation treaty to Earth, contingent on Council acceptance. He returned to his seat amid continued chaos. Daniel stood stunned. Peter and Sophie exchanged amazed looks. Lisa nodded slowly at, a gesture of respect that the general returned. Chairman called for order. Are there other statements before voting? A tall, elegant alien with blue skin and 4 arms stood. Diplomat of the Alliance. Chairman, I wish to echo General's recommendations. The Alliance has reviewed Earth's cultural achievements, and we believe humanity would enrich the Council's diversity. We also offer a scientific exchange treaty. Another delegate stood, then another. Species after species offered statements of support or at least careful neutrality. The tide had shifted dramatically. Finally, a squat, heavily armored alien rose, commander of the Confederation. I oppose Earth's membership. They are who hid their true nature. How can we trust a species that deliberately deceived us? Daniel stepped forward, requesting permission to speak. Granted it. Commander raises a fair concern, Daniel said calmly. Earth did not emphasize our physical capabilities in our application. This was a deliberate choice, but not deception. Every fact in our application was true. We simply highlighted our culture, science, and desire for cooperation rather than our biological adaptations. He pulled up Earth's original application. We made this choice because we reviewed the galaxy's history and saw how species are categorized. Strong species are often viewed with suspicion or fear. We wanted to be judged on our merits, not our muscles. We wanted to be seen as potential partners, not potential threats. Daniel gestured to Lisa. Colonel Grant's demonstration was not meant to intimidate anyone. It was a response to General's challenge, a way to prove we could meet the standards he set. We don't want to frighten other species. We want to work alongside them. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. If the Council accepts Earth's membership, we pledge the following. First, complete transparency about our capabilities going forward. No more understating or omission. Second, commitment to the Council's laws and principles. We'll be reliable partners who honor our agreements. Third, willingness to share our knowledge and learn from others. We believe cooperation benefits everyone. And if we reject your application, challenged, then we return to Earth and continue developing on our own, Daniel said simply. We'll be disappointed, but we won't become hostile. We'll remain open to future contact and cooperation, because that's who we are. We choose peace not because we must, but because we believe it's right. Sophie stepped forward to add, Earth has art, music, literature, philosophy spanning thousands of years of culture. We've overcome our own divisions and learned to work together as a species. We have much to share with the galaxy and much to learn from you. We hope you'll give us that opportunity. Chairman floated forward. Thank you, Ambassador Sophie. Are there any other statements? Silence answered him. Then we proceed to vote. The question is simple. Does the Galactic Council accept Earth's application for full membership? Delegates will vote privately. Results will be announced immediately. The voting took only minutes. Each delegate entered their decision into a secure system. The chamber waited in tense silence as the votes were tallied. Finally spoke. The vote is complete. 34 in favor, 8 opposed, 5 abstentions. Earth's application is approved. Humanity is welcomed as the 48th member species of the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities therein. The chamber erupted, but this time with applause rather than argument. Many delegates stood in respect. General approached the Earth delegation and offered his clawed hand to Daniel, a gesture of respect in culture. Welcome to the galaxy, Ambassador said. May our species stand together in the years ahead. Daniel shook his hand carefully. Thank you, General, for your honesty and your recommendation. It took courage to admit error publicly. It took courage for your colonel to crush steel, replied, looking at Lisa. We both did what duty required. Over the next hours, delegates from dozens of species approached to offer congratulations and discuss future cooperation. Military alliances, trade agreements, scientific partnerships, cultural exchanges. Earth had arrived on the galactic stage, and everyone wanted to establish connections. Lisa stood quietly to one side, watching the diplomatic dance. Her hands ached despite the medication, but the pain was worth it. Earth had proven itself not through conquest or aggression, but through strength paired with wisdom. Sophie joined her. How do you feel? Tired, Lisa admitted. Relieved, hopeful, we actually did it. You did it, Sophie corrected. That demonstration changed everything. His recommendation changed everything, Lisa said. He could have argued against us. Instead, he looked past his pride and saw the truth. That took real strength. Peter rushed over, his data pad clutched in hand. The Council wants detailed biological reports on human capabilities. They're setting up a research committee. I'm going to be busy for months. Daniel finished a conversation with a delegate and joined his team. We need to send a message to Earth. They'll want to know immediately. They moved to a secure communication station in their quarters. Daniel composed a brief message to send across the vast distance between the station and Earth. Mission successful. Earth accepted as full council member. Details to follow. We're coming home. The celebration in the station's diplomatic sector lasted well into the night. Delegates from friendly species arrived with traditional gifts and offers of partnership. The Earth delegation found themselves suddenly popular, invited to dinners, cultural events, and private meetings with various governments. Daniel handled the diplomatic aspects with practiced skill, accepting congratulations while carefully evaluating each offer. Some were genuine partnerships, others attempts to bind Earth to existing power structures. He made polite responses, but committed to nothing without careful consideration. Peter was surrounded by scientists eager to discuss human biology. A researcher wanted to study human endurance adaptations. A doctor requested samples for genetic comparison. A military scientist asked detailed questions about hysterical strength and its triggering mechanisms. Peter answered what he could while protecting sensitive information. Sophie organized cultural exchange programs, connecting with species interested in Earth's art and history. She scheduled performances of human music, displays of human artwork, and presentations of human literature. Within days, she had created a framework for ongoing cultural cooperation that would enrich both humanity and the galaxy. Lisa spent much of her time in medical recovery. The doctor monitored her healing closely, impressed by how quickly human tissue regenerated. Other medical professionals visited to observe, fascinated by the visible bruising and the rate at which it faded. On the third day after the vote, Lisa received another visitor. General arrived at her door in the evening, once again alone. "Your hands are healing well," he observed as she let him in. "Better than expected," Lisa confirmed. The bandages were lighter now, and she could move her fingers without too much pain. "The doctor says I'll have full function back in 2 weeks." Nodded. "I came to discuss something that has been troubling me since our last conversation." "What is it?" Lisa asked, gesturing for him to sit. Settled into a chair designed for larger species. "You said humans frighten themselves sometimes, that you are capable of both great kindness and terrible cruelty. This honesty is unusual. Most species present only their best qualities to the Council." "Would you prefer we lied?" Lisa asked. "No," said quickly. "Truth is always preferable, but your willingness to acknowledge your species' darker nature puzzles me. The Empire does not speak openly of our past aggressions or current struggles. We project strength and certainty." Lisa sat down across from him. "Earth's history taught us that pretending to be perfect doesn't make us perfect. We've done terrible things to each other. Wars, genocides, oppression, exploitation. For thousands of years, we hurt ourselves and our planet. We still struggle with violence, inequality, and hatred." "Then why should the galaxy trust you?" asked bluntly. "Because we acknowledge these problems and work to overcome them," Lisa said. "We teach our history honestly, including the bad parts. We hold ourselves accountable for our mistakes. We try to be better than we were. That's not weakness, General. That's wisdom earned through painful experience." Was silent for a moment. "The Empire is 3,000 years old. We built our power through conquest and maintained it through strength. We do not discuss the species we destroyed or the cultures we erased. To do so would be seen as weakness." "Or it could be seen as maturity," Lisa suggested gently. "Recognizing past wrongs doesn't erase current strength. It just shows you've learned from experience." "My superiors would not agree," said, "but I find myself thinking about your words. Perhaps strength and wisdom are not opposites after all." They talked for another hour, discussing military philosophy, cultural differences, and the challenges of balancing power with responsibility. When finally left, he seemed thoughtful rather than troubled. The next day, the Earth delegation prepared to depart. Their ship had been and updated with new navigation data for Council space. Diplomatic credentials had been issued, and formal treaties had been drafted for Earth's government to review. Chairman hosted a farewell ceremony in the main docking bay. Dozens of delegates attended to see the humans off. "Earth has proven itself worthy of membership through both capability and character," announced. "We look forward to humanity's contributions to the Council and to cooperation in the years ahead." Daniel bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to all the delegates who supported our application. Earth will honor its commitments and work toward the benefit of the entire galactic community." Various species representatives approached to say personal farewells. Some offered additional treaties to consider. Others simply wished them safe travels. General was among the last. "Ambassador," said formally, "the Empire looks forward to our military cooperation treaty. I believe our species can learn much from each other." "I agree, General," Daniel replied. "Your recommendation made this possible. Earth won't forget that." Turned to Lisa. "Colonel Grant, your demonstration changed my understanding of what strength truly means. I hope we meet again under better circumstances." Lisa smiled slightly. "I hope next time doesn't involve crushing metal." "Agreed," said, and there might have been humor in his voice. He performed a military salute, which Lisa returned as best she could with still healing hands. The Earth delegation boarded their ship and prepared for departure. As they left the docking bay and entered open space, They could see the massive station receding behind them. The journey home would take several weeks even with faster-than-light travel. In the ship's common area, the team finally relaxed. The tension of the last 2 weeks began to fade, replaced by exhaustion and quiet satisfaction. "We actually did it," Peter said, still sounding amazed. "Earth is part of the galactic community. Everything changes now." "Everything already changed," Sophie corrected. "The moment Lisa crushed that steel bar, the galaxy's perception of humanity shifted. We're not weak newcomers anymore. We're equals." Daniel pulled up the reports he needed to deliver to Earth's government. "We have a lot of work ahead. Treaties to negotiate, partnerships to establish, cultural exchanges to organize. And we need to be honest about our capabilities going forward. No more understating our strength." "But also no overstating it," Lisa added. "What I did was exceptional even for humans. Most people back home couldn't replicate it. We need to be clear about that." "Agreed," Daniel said. "Honesty in both directions. We're strong but not invincible, capable but not superhuman. Well, not usually superhuman." They spent the journey home preparing detailed reports, reviewing the treaties offered, and planning Earth's next steps. Messages from home arrived regularly, each one more excited than the last. Humanity was celebrating across the planet. Parties, parades, special broadcasts. Earth had achieved what seemed impossible. 3 weeks later, they entered Earth's solar system. The blue-green planet appeared in their viewports, beautiful and familiar. Home. A fleet of Earth ships met them, escorting them triumphantly toward the planet. News broadcasts showed massive crowds gathering at the spaceport where they would land. The entire world was watching. As the ship descended through the atmosphere, Lisa looked at her hands. The bruising had faded completely, and her fingers moved normally now. Small scars remained where the skin had split under the pressure, permanent reminders of what she had done. "Any regrets?" Sophie asked, noticing her examination. "None," Lisa said firmly. "We proved humanity belongs among the stars. That was worth any price." The ship landed to thunderous applause. The Earth delegation emerged to cheering crowds, camera flashes, and jubilant celebration. Officials rushed forward with congratulations. Military honor guards stood at attention. The planetary anthem played through massive speakers. Daniel gave a brief speech, thanking everyone who had supported the mission and promising that Earth would honor its new responsibilities. But most people weren't listening to words. They were celebrating the simple fact that humanity had arrived, that Earth was no longer alone, that the stars were finally open to them. In the weeks that followed, the crushed steel bar from Lisa's demonstration became famous throughout the galaxy. The Council preserved it in their Museum of Significant Artifacts. Researchers studied it as proof of human capability. Military academies used footage of the event in their training programs. But more important than the artifact was what it represented. A moment when humanity proved itself not through war or conquest, but through strength paired with wisdom. A demonstration that power and peace could coexist. A statement that Earth chose cooperation over domination. General kept a holographic recording of the moment in his quarters. Sometimes, late at night when his duties were finished, he would watch it again. The sight of a small human woman crushing steel through sheer determination and will. It reminded him that strength took many forms and that assumptions could be dangerous. The Empire's military doctrine began to shift gradually, incorporating new ideas about power and responsibility. It would take decades, but pushed for changes in how they evaluated other species, how they measured worth, how they defined strength itself. Back on Earth, Lisa returned to her duties as a military advisor. She gave lectures at academies, explaining what had happened and what it meant. Young soldiers listened with amazement, inspired by her example. But she always ended her talks with the same message. Strength without wisdom is just violence. Power without responsibility is just tyranny. What made Earth worthy of galactic acceptance wasn't the fact that I could crush steel. It was the fact that we chose diplomacy first and violence only when necessary. Remember that. Your strength is a tool, not a weapon. Use it wisely. Daniel continued as Earth's primary ambassador to the Galactic Council. He negotiated treaties, resolved disputes, and represented humanity's interests with skill and integrity. Under his guidance, Earth became known as a voice for balanced solutions and fair treatment of all species. Peter led the scientific exchange programs, sharing human knowledge while learning from alien species. His research into comparative biology helped the galaxy better understand the incredible diversity of life and adaptation throughout the universe. Sophie's cultural programs brought human and alien civilizations together in ways that enriched everyone. Music, art, literature, philosophy flowed between Earth and the stars. The galaxy discovered human creativity, and humanity discovered wonders beyond imagination. 5 years after Earth's acceptance into the Council, a new crisis emerged. A hostile force threatened several smaller species on the galactic frontier. The Council debated responses, with many species calling for military intervention while others urged caution. It was General who proposed a joint human peacekeeping force. "We have learned from each other," he told the Council. "Strength and human wisdom combined, let us prove that power used responsibly can protect the innocent." The Council approved. Human and soldiers worked together, and the crisis was resolved with minimal casualties. The hostile force retreated when faced with such a capable but measured response. After the operation, and Lisa met again, this time as proven allies rather than uncertain acquaintances. "You were right," said simply. "Strength and wisdom are not opposites, they are partners." Lisa smiled. "Took us a few thousand years to figure that out ourselves, glad we could share the lesson." They stood together looking at the stars, representatives of two very different species who had learned to respect each other. Behind them stretched centuries of cooperation yet to come, built on a foundation established the day a human woman crushed steel and proved that Earth belonged among the stars. The galaxy would never forget that moment, and neither would humanity. It became part of Earth's story, a reminder that sometimes the hardest challenges require not just strength, but the wisdom to know when and how to use it. And in a quiet museum on the Council station, the crushed steel bar remained on display, with a simple plaque beneath it. Humanity's introduction, strength revealed, peace chosen. The message would take hours to reach Earth even with faster-than-light communication, but when it arrived, celebrations would erupt across the planet. Humanity had taken its place among the stars. O then looked at her bandaged hands. The price of proving Earth's worth was high, but perhaps it would be worth it. The next morning, Chairman announced that the Council would reconvene that evening for final deliberations on Earth's application. The galaxy watched and waited to see if humanity would take its place among the stars or be rejected as too dangerous to accept. Capable of when survival was actually at stake. The question both intrigued and worried him deeply. The steel began to groan.